The first step in this meeting is we have to choose one topic that you would like to talk about. And okay, I would like to talk about divorce because I am living something like that. Do you want to choose one, please?
I'll do
We
substance
have
abuse.
okay, Ryan, substance abuse. Who want work-home balance?
I can do work-home balance.
Okay, thank you. It's Marty, right?
I guess
Yes.
that leaves me with same-sex
Okay.
relationships.
Okay.
Not that that's a current topic at all.
right down your alley.
Okay, Ryan.
Good.
Okay, guys.
Good stuff.
Okay, Marty, what do you have learning about human resources management in this class?
You know, it's been interesting for me. I have learned a lot about some of the rules. I have always had to deal with some of the rules with discrimination and treating people equally and age discrimination. So learning a little bit more about that. And the most important one I think I learned more about was that there is really no such thing as an at-will state. You can't terminate somebody at will because they're going to have a reason to sue you for wrongful termination. So there is really no such thing as at-will termination. And so that's
Okay.
what I learned about it.
Okay, thank you, Marty. And okay, and can you talk something about how the topic that you have chose would impact the workplace, please?
Do you guys care if I go first? Because I might have a patient coming in.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Okay, so I think that the work-life balance and having the ability to do work at home has impacted the workplace in good ways. When you look at all the reading we did about the virtual offices and people doing work from home, we actually have that happening with our folks that do our computer programming, and they're doing all of the writing and making of charts and stuff. They have to work 2 days a week in the office, and they get to work from home 3 days. They don't have to commute as much. They are much happier, and the computer logs them in, and you can see that they are doing the job that they're supposed to do, and they are happier. And I think retention is up. That's probably the lowest turnover area. People are really trying to get to go into that area to work in healthcare, and it's kind of interesting because I would have never even considered it, but it sounds kind of nice to be able to be at home with your family, sign in and do things an hour or two here, come back, do it an hour or two there. It's very liberating, and you get to do all the things with your family that you'd really like to. So I believe that it is going to help turnover, and so I'm all for it. It gets thumbs up.
Okay.
That'd be awesome. I wonder if that is possible in our field, you know, in healthcare, how well you could do that. I mean, as far as balancing, it'd be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, so this is in healthcare that we're doing this. This is
Yeah. Well, I mean, in patient care, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah,
I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know in some physical therapy departments where they do physical therapy and home visits, they're able to schedule their times around when they want and do home their own at their leisure.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
That would be kind of funny, though, to run at like a PT clinic out of your home. It's like, I don't want to go to the clinic. You guys just drop by.
You guys just come out here at my house. That's a good idea. I wonder if you could do that. That'd be awesome. I should think about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Marty. Okay, and Ryan, it's your turn, please. What do you have learned about this class of this week, and what do you think about the topic that you chose?
So for what have I learned this week, or just in class in general? This week?
In this week.
Oh, this week. You know, I hadn't known that what's the schedule? The article where he talked about the schedule. I hadn't known that so big, and you know, I live in my own little bubble of healthcare and physical therapy, so I haven't seen the working at home model as much. And I live in a small town. You just don't see that as much. We don't have big corporations here, and but it would be wonderful. I think it's great. I think it's you know, seems too much that you know, we as we work, we work to work, and people do work too much almost. But I think this new trend that's coming is a good way to turn the table back to the focus on family, you know, and your focus is family and working around your family, which is awesome, I think. I think it's good all the way around, you know, for the gospel, but not only that, I think people will be more effective that way too. And like in the article said, where you'll get things done when you know that you have a timetable to meet. You know you can leave in a couple hours to go see your kid's ball game, so you have to get as much as you can done rather than just kind of, you know, dilly-dallying around doing nothing for a few hours and then getting your work later on. So that'll be good. As far as substance abuse goes, I think, you know, it's probably obvious how much it affects the workplace, but I was really surprised to see in the reading what percentage of people who use drugs a lot are actually working. Yeah, because normally you see them just, you know, you think of a drug addict that they sit at home all day and they live off welfare. They don't really you know, contribute much, but they are working, and it's kind of scary at the same time. Just an experience of my own. I've had a couple of brothers who have been addicted to drugs over the years, and you know, from as heavy as things like crystal meth to marijuana. And there's currently a brother of mine right now who still does smoke marijuana probably on a daily basis, pretty much. And it's been amazing to me. You know, he doesn't see it. He sees it as something that he needs in order to function. You know, like people say that they need their coffee in order to function. He looks at it that way, but in reality, from the outside in, you see how it's changed to just his work ethic in general. You know, he no longer has a strong desire to be real successful in life, or to make money, or to, you know, to have things. He just kind of wants enough just to get by so he can pay the bills, and wants to do as little as possible. And you know, if he works 4 or 5 hours in a row, he complains because that's too much, and it just greatly diminished his work ethic. Whereas I remember years ago, he's about 8 or 10 years older than I am, but he was real successful. He was you know, he was in management and a real go-getter and really had good motivation. But I've seen over the years, as he's used more and more marijuana, that it has taken away that motivation. I mean, it really. And people say, I know a lot of people, the big argument right now is that it's not a drug that doesn't do much. You know, it's no more harmless than alcohol. Not that alcohol is harmless, but it's
Right.
certainly more. Yeah, it's certainly more than that. I don't even agree with that argument that it's on par with alcohol. I think it certainly does a lot more to our bodies and our minds and our motivational level than that does. So I could see how in the workplace. You know, I've never actually worked with somebody that I know of that has been doing drugs, but I could certainly see how that would affect not only your cognitive, your ability to think, but your work ethic in general, and your desire to improve and help the business. So it would have a big impact, that's for sure.
Something that.
Yes,
And
thank you, Ryan. So I was thinking that I never have think how these kind of problems or topics affect in the workplace. Maybe I have think, or I have lived how it affects in the family, but it's different how it affects in the workplace, and I think that it really affects a lot. And for example, I don't have heard that the people use drugs in the workplace, for example, and, but that should be a very hard problem. Sorry. Sí, mi amor. For example, now my baby is thinking in his dad, and that it's a problem. Okay, but continuing with the topic, and of course, these problems affect very hard companies. And what else? For example, in my own opinion, in the topic that I chose, that it's the divorce, I have lived it. I'm not divorcing, but we don't have started this process, but I have living something like that, because my husband say I want to the divorce, and he left, and he's not in our home. And I was thinking a lot of things very that was very hard, and was very hard for me for a lot of things, because I don't have more help for them, and I don't have more money for them, and I don't have a lot of sometimes I feel alone, sometimes I have to work a lot, and I don't really in the first months I don't really think clear. I was some depressed, sad, and it was very hard in my workplace, really, and in the school. And sometimes I don't want to do the assignments. I can think more. I just was thinking and what I will to do, what I have to do, and what it happened, and it's very hard. And of course, this kind of problems can affect in our work. We don't do all the things that we have to do very well. We can have mistakes, and we can have more problems. We can have problems with our boss, because sometimes they don't understand that we are living. And for example, in Mexico, we don't have an association to help in these cases. I have heard in the reading that we have that in the United States, sometimes the companies have an association for help. It's right?
Yeah, I don't know of one personally, but I did also read about that.
Yes. So that's my opinion. What do you think about this?
So both of my dad's brothers, so my uncles, have gone through divorce. In fact, one of them multiple times, unfortunately. And it's a very real situation. I think it's appropriate to handle it in the same kind of way as if someone had a death in the family, or if you got very sick, or if some kind of catastrophe had happened, because it's a very big, life-changing thing. But of course, it's hard to handle in the workplace. From a holistic approach, you can give people time off, for instance, but that doesn't necessarily fix the problem. And then the question arises: is it your problem to help fix as an employer? And it all really just depends on the industry, but I agree that it's a really hard thing to work through, and I'm really sorry that you've been working through that, RLE. That's tough.
Don't worry. Thank you.
So I am.
Okay, and
Marty
yes?
had a thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have referred a person to EAP and to what we call it work life. They actually do that exact counseling that is in the reading that we talked about. I have a gentleman who is currently in the middle of going through divorce, and he has 5 children, and it's pretty difficult. 4 children. I have 5 children.
Yes.
He has 4 children, but it's pretty rough for him. His wife has never had to work, and so he's having to maintain 2 homes now, and so he is strapped for money. He's very depressed. You can just see his whole person has changed over the last few months. It's really hard on him, and when he's there, it's hard on the other people, because they also see, the sadness, because he was married for 22 years. So it's a long-term relationship that's ending for him, and it's very difficult. And productivity, I was reading all that, and I'm like, you really do see that happening, and you have to be compassionate. And so, yeah, it's very difficult. I don't I feel so bad for him.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Marty. Do you want to say something about this? It's okay. Are you agree
Oh yeah, I
with
don't.
our
Yeah, I don't
opinion?
have a. I mean, I agree with what everything you guys said as far as that goes. I know that'd be hard. I haven't actually personally. I'm trying to think back if I've had an employee or if we've worked with somebody who's been going through a divorce. It would be hard. I mean, it would be hard as an employer to try to be compassionate and like Brian said, treat it like a death in the family. Especially because it can be such an ongoing thing, especially if kids are involved, and it could potentially, cause disturbances in how the person works too, and in being able to work at a high level or a high productivity level because their mind's elsewhere and they physically are probably elsewhere, having to take care of things, and so it'd be hard to just trying to think as an administrator how I would handle that with. Say somebody was say somebody was going through that, but really they're not performing their job well because their mind's right here. I mean, that'd be tough to figure out how to do that, without being too cold-hearted, but at the same time looking out for what's best for the business. It'd be tough.
Agreed.
Okay, I'm agree. Thank you, Ryan. And Brian, do you want to talk about your topic, please?
Yeah. So this is actually, let me actually relate this with a story real quick. So I started my internship 5 weeks ago, and I've got my nice little cubicle, my nice little area, not an office, of course, but I've got this nice little area, and I was actually pretty glad with how big it was, and I had these two pictures, one of me and my wife, and the other one of my wife and I with our whole family. And so I put those down, but I also have my English and Russian Book of Mormon and a Russian Bible. It's a very small, compact Russian Bible. And I put those on my desk as well because it's just nice to have there, and it's inspiring, and I always hope that someone will ask, like, oh,
Yeah.
what's with the book? Or like, hey, what's with that weird language?
Yeah.
And
Great tool.
and it's just a nice thing because as an intern, they don't always have stuff for me to do. And so sometimes you can get kind of demotivated or like, what am I doing? And so I find that, like in the Book of Mormon, you're like, yeah, okay, I've still got a purpose. Let me see why God wants me here.
Yeah.
My boss's boss one day came on by and saw the books there and very kindly took me aside into her office and said, I'm sorry, it's against office policy to have religious or political texts out. I'm going to have to ask you to put those away. And I was like, well, okay. I wasn't offended. I was kind of bummed, but I wasn't offended at all. But my boss actually stuck up for me when she had heard about that. She said, what's interesting, and being in Oregon, she said, what's interesting is I walk by people's offices and they are just plastered all over with the LGBT stuff, propaganda and also go pot, and all these sorts of things, and no one says anything to them. But here's my intern. He just wants to put out his religious books, which help him, and he's not parading it or anything. It's just part of him. Why isn't that allowed? And so in talking to the boss that talked to me, it all got approved. So I've got my Book of Mormon out and everything.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so it's an interesting thing in the workplace when it comes to everything like that. Of course, morally, it's wrong. Sorry, that's just how it is. That's my point of view. But in the workplace, there should not be any discrimination. You should not be discriminating against people of race or gender or anything like that. You want to be hiring people, and you want workers who are doing their work correctly. So I think the debate doesn't have place in the workplace. I mean, according with laws and everything like that, you need to start providing health insurance now for same-sex couples. and things like that. But other than that, outside of the workplace, of course, it's a whole different animal. But within the work, you can't. It just doesn't have place in the workplace, if that makes sense. So,
Okay.
yeah. Don't discriminate, but also, I guess the main problem that could arise within the workplace is having the propaganda and having discussions. And I really do disagree. I don't think the workplace should allow crazy political propaganda. And if that means that I can't have the Book of Mormon out, then I guess with company policy that's fine. But I think the workplace really does need to be as free as possible, especially from political debate. So, if that makes sense, that's kind of my views.
We've had patients almost go to blows with each other before, when because we have TVs on at our in our physical therapy clinic. Usually it's just with sports. Usually we'll just have sports on, but every now and then a patient they'll ask to put on, you know, their news station or whatever, and we usually try not to, but they do. And a couple of times we've had patients almost, you know, going at it and cursing at each other, and you know, because of their different political views that were up there. So it's very heated. It can be a heated topic, and same-sex marriage is very, you know, it's one of those that's up there too, and as far as heated topics. And
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess one quick. Yeah. Do you have anything, Arlie?
No, it's okay.
Okay. I was about to say, I forgot talking about kind of like generally what I've learned in this HR class. I think in general the biggest thing I've learned is just to be a very human manager. I've gotten a lot more experience from that in being somewhere else outside of Idaho, you know, and understanding more about what the workplace is like. And I'm not sure if I told you guys this, but I've been going to a lot of meetings. And I remember the first meeting I went into, I thought it was interesting how we all sat down and didn't start the meeting with a prayer. Like, of course, who starts their meeting with a prayer? But I just come from BYU, Idaho, where every class, everything starts with a prayer.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how my belief in being Mormon, of course, doesn't have to be separate from the workplace. It doesn't mean wherever I go I can institute prayer with, you know, each meeting. But that doesn't stop me from saying a prayer within myself before each meeting or before each interview with somebody, or in trying to deal with a problem, because it's taught me that I can be a human, I can be myself and be a manager all at the same time. So that's what I've really enjoyed about this course.
I like that. That's good.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
But I don't like the busy work. That does not make me human.
I hear you.
So, what else? Let me see. Okay, you have talking about every area. Okay, it says, what other issues students see in society that are likely to impact their workplaces of the future? What other?
Trying to think.
I know a big one, at least within healthcare, is that we might start seeing patients' personal health information, their PHI, on their smartphones, for instance, or tablets, or you'll start seeing a lot more of like telemedicine, which has all sorts of issues. In America, we have a law called HIPAA, which essentially means you can't just give away people's health information. You just can't give it to somebody else for no reason. And so if we have patient information on phones, that means it can be easily hacked. But is that stopping patient accessibility? I know that's going to be a big thing for the workplace and just kind of society in general in the upcoming few years.
Yeah, a big push right now that a lot of people are trying to do is share medical information between all providers. You know, so you have your VP, your general practitioner, and your orthopedic specialist, your physical therapist, your whoever else all has access to the same pool of information that they can get. So that I guess the benefit of that would be, as a physical therapist, you'd want to be able to access a person's MRI that they just got immediately, and likewise to all the other people that are involved. So I know a lot of companies and a lot of people are trying to get that up and going also.
And so kind of like forcing that technology.
Yeah. And in healthcare in general, my boss thinks that you're going to start seeing, I guess it all kind of depends on what happens with the Affordable Care Act and how that turns out over the next 10 years. But he thinks that it's gonna get rid of a lot of smaller type of healthcare businesses. So you're not going to see a lot of doctors just owning their own practice anymore. That everybody's going to work for big companies. They're all going to be these big companies, and everyone's going to be kind of under the umbrella of a big company and a big corporation, because they're the only ones who will be able to survive the high healthcare costs, and what it takes to run a business. So that's what he thinks is going to happen in the next 20 to 30 years, maybe, or so. Not that it already is to an extent, but
yeah, it'll probably accelerate with all the laws and regulations, though, which is a bummer because those clinics can really do well on their own.
Yeah.
There's no reason for a little podiatrist to be shoved into, for example, Kaiser Permanente if they can do their own, or Intermountain Healthcare, or wherever you are. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. So kind of a loss of freedom there.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone will be working for big companies.
I was thinking in what way maybe the workplace can change, and I was thinking that maybe it can change. As an example that we was reading, that maybe we can have a more flexible time to work, because today we are living in a time that the mothers and the fathers have to work. So I think that maybe in the future the companies is flexibility in the hours for work. I don't know, or maybe we can work more at home. For example, our education now, it's easier to study in our time than we have to be 8 hours in the school. For example, that was it was impossible for me because I have a family, because I have to work, and to be for 8 hours in the university every day, and to travel 1 hour more to the city when it's the university, it's very hard. So I think that maybe in the future the work will change like this.
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder if I wonder if it'll get to the point. I was just thinking about healthcare. If visits become virtual at some point, if instead of going to see your general doctor, you type in all your symptoms and information, then you have a Skype meeting with them, where they're away. I wonder if it would ever get to that point.
They're actually already starting to. There's a couple of apps that are allowing that to happen.
Huh? Really?
So it's essentially like as an urgent care kind of a thing.
Oh, I see. So they'll give you kind of general direction on what you need to do and where you need to go. Huh.
Yeah, so nothing like a specialist or anything.
Yeah. A specialist you still have to go see, but.
Right. Yeah, it's not like you can do an MRI via Skype.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Huh. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that out.
Okay, guys. I think today the meeting is shorter than others.
Yeah, that was good.
We have answered all the questions, and I don't know. Who want to finish with a pray, and do you want to talk about the Dokuhi's problem, or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Wrap that up tonight. We'll make this our true final meeting. Though I guess it might be a little difficult if Marty is not here.
Yeah, we could make an assign. We could just decide the structure and how we wanna divvy it out.
Do it. Yeah. Yeah. I'll go ahead and say a prayer if you'd like, Riley.
Ven, amor. Okay. Ven, vamos a hacer la oración, ven. Brian, do you can help us, please? Ven.
Yeah.
Vamos a hacer-
I'll pray.
Sorry, my kid is crying.
Oh, he's crying. Okay, I heard Brian.
Ven, amor. Ven, amor, ven. Vamos a hacer la oración. Silencio. Okay, Brian, please.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and pray. Dear most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, thank you very much for this opportunity which we have to be together and that we were able to discuss problems in the workplace and how we in the future can deal with them and be prepared for future problems. We're thankful for the opportunity which we've had to work together and to be part of this group. And Father, we'd ask you to bless all of us with thy Spirit, especially bless Arlie at this time in her family, that everything will go well. And we love thee very much, Father, and see these things in the name of thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Brian.